Hello and welcome to this quick grab in which we look at the cycle of fifths. There is a complementary cycle called the cycle of fourths, and there's also a quick grab video that discusses that as well. Let's take a quick look at what the cycle of fifths is. Like the cycle of fourths, it's a way of traversing all 12 tones by the same interval each time and getting back to the starting point. So for example, if I was to start on this C here and travel up 7 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, gets me to G. The 7 semitones is also known as a perfect fifth. This is why it's called the cycle of fifths. We're moving a perfect fifth at each step. So from the G, if I travelled up another perfect fifth or 7 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, would get me to D. A further 7 semitones or another perfect fifth will get me to A, and so on and so on. If we take a look at the sequence across the top here, this is the cycle of fifths as well, and we're going to play through that cycle one note at a time. So here's the C, the next note is the G, perfect fifth up. Now the next note would take me a perfect fifth up to this D. Just for convention, I've dropped back to the lower D just to keep everything within the same range, otherwise this just extends up very high onto the piano, top of the piano keyboard. Okay, so let's go again. Back from the C, perfect fifth to G, perfect fifth to D, to A, to E, to B, F sharp, C sharp. I could have called this note G sharp. It would have been technically correct if we carried on with the sharps. By convention though, we drop to flats, and we'll see that in a minute when we look at this on a diagram. So A flat, perfect fifth up to E flat, to B flat, to F, and finally back to C. So as you'll see, we've travelled through all 12 tones, starting from the C, ending on the C. An important point to note about this, because of the nature of the cycle, we could have started anywhere. For example, I could have started on this B natural here, moved through a perfect fifth, ascending each time, and I would have got back to a B again. So as I say, we can start at any point on the cycle. It's very useful for a number of things. One of the things that the cycle of fifths is useful for is for describing and remembering the order of sharp keys, and in fact the order that we add those sharps as well. But to better view that, we'll take a look at a diagram. Okay, so I have an empty cycle here, and you'll see there are 12 points on it, much like a clock, because of the 12 tones that we have in music. So eventually we will place one of each of these 12 tones at some point on the cycle. Now, as I say, we're traveling by perfect fifth between each of them. So we start at the top with C. The reason we start with C at the top is that C has no sharps and no flats. As we go around the cycle, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp. Now, as I say, it would have been perfectly acceptable to go to G sharp next. But what we're going to do, instead of go to G sharp, we go to A flat, then to E flat, then to B flat, then to F, and back to C. Now the important thing to note about this is that every time we move a step around this cycle, we move by the interval of a perfect fifth. Let's say perfect fifth, and that is 7 semitones. So the distance between every single one of these steps moving in a clockwise direction is exactly the same, a perfect fifth or 7 semitones. So what's this useful for? Well, it's useful for a number of things, and we'll come back to a lot more that you can use the cycle of fifths and the cycle of fourths for in a bigger video on the cycles. But for the moment, we can use it to remember the order of sharp keys. As we've just said before, the C at the top has no sharps and no flats. G has 1 sharp, D has 2, A has 3, E has 4, B has 5, F sharp has 6, and C sharp has 7. So we can use it for that. Another thing that we can use the cycle of fifths for is to remember the order that the sharps are added. And we do this by starting at the point here, G, where we've added the first sharp, and step back twice to the left. We end up here at F. That's the first sharp. Another good way of remembering the first sharp, by the way, is it's the first letter in the word first. So first sharp is F. The next sharp is C. So when we get to D major, we keep the F we've already got, and we add the C. When we get to A major, we keep the F and the C that we already have, and we add G, and so on, and we follow that round. So in a nutshell, that's the cycle of fifths. It's just one of the many uses that we can use this for. But I hope this has been useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please like the video and share around with your friends. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll get to as many of those as I can. Thanks very much and see you in the next one.